Hello, my name is Ere Santos. I am a senior animator working on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and this is Tech Rap Queen.
Energy, vibes, inspiration. I'm Renee Reed, and this is Tech Rap Queen. Beautiful people, the Royal Court. Welcome to yet another incredible episode and rap session on Tech Rap Queen. I am, of course, your queen, the Renee. In this spirit of tech design and culture, I love amplifying all the dope things that Black people are doing across multiple industries. My next guest, you're going to hear about his journey to the world of animation. Without further ado, Mr. Ere Santos, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I am well. Thank you for being on Tech Rap Queen.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.
We're going to get into all the good stuff.
Absolutely.
Let's jump into first. Tell us something about animator life, the world of animation that people wouldn't necessarily know.
Common misconception for animators is that especially 3D animators, because I work in a computer, I don't draw at all. Drawing is an important skill to have as an animator, obviously, because you need to know about design and form and all that kind of stuff. But we are closer to actors and we are closer to illustrators, you know. So I spend a lot of my time acting out. I have a mirror on my desk where I'm looking at my facial expressions the entire time. Allows me to kind of like have that as a inspiration. And my main thing is I spend a lot of time using these digital puppets to kind of create performances to make people laugh and performances to make people cry. And I think that's a common misconception is that 3D animators do a lot of drawing, but it's a lot more acting. Like I actually film myself acting and then try and imitate the ideas from my acting in the computer.
See, I would have definitely gone to illustration, the drawing aspect. So yeah, you just schooled me. I'm thinking about someone who's wants to know more about animation.
Mhm.
What are those skills that are important to have?
I think, animation, whether it's on paper or if it's with clay or if it's with, whatever you're doing, computer, whatever, a great way to start with that is by learning the 12 principles of animation, which are the classic. There's debate on how many principles there should be. Like sometimes there's only three, sometimes there's 15, but all right, if you just Google 12 principles of animation, once you start learning each one, you start to internalize a lot of it.
Mhm.
And that'll help you kind of get your start so you understand the principles of animation. And when you start to practice it either in computer or with clay or with a puppet or with paper and pencil, when you start applying those principles, that's when your animation starts to look believable. Because the number one thing for any animator to know is that they need to make sure that the work is believable. A lot of what we do is impossible. A lot of what we do is not, real. So we need to make sure that something may not be real, but it needs to be believable.
I love what you're showcasing across all social media. Your post goes viral. What do you think was the appeal? Because you had posted other things, but this one, which is a
Yeah.
reference, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay.
Reference comparison.
Why do you think this one made people go, "Oh, wow."
Yeah. I think, completely unintentional, but I think that first of all, it's Spider-Man and like the internet loves Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse especially. And
Very
they
true.
admit, especially because the trailer was just released at the time for the sequel, and like there's a lot of buzz and like people were really excited about it. And another thing too that really helped was the fact that I am Black and I do have a lot of similarities with when it comes to Miles and like um I definitely felt, which is one of the I will say this, it was one of the things that really bummed me about not getting to work on the first movie is that I felt really connected to Miles. I was like, I really feel like I can do something special with him. I really want to be able to animate him. And I feel, so blessed that I get to be on this other end of things and helping, bring Miles to life for the second movie.
So explain to the royal court what is a reference.
So yeah, as I was saying a little bit before, as an animator, which we're always just trying to be performers, right? And what happens a lot is that I'm a huge advocate for gaining inspiration from real life and being able to like go outside and look at cool stuff, or film yourself and look at cool stuff, or go on the internet and look at cool stuff, and just kind of find inspiration and reference for your performances. And that's on the artistic level, but on the more technical level, filming reference helps you figure out, I have, yeah, my scene is this long and I need to get from point A to point B. How do I do that? Okay, let me start acting out to see how I can do that. Okay, well, not only how do I get from point A to point B, but for me, another really important question is how do I get to point A to point B in an interesting and unique way, And how do I get that interesting? And then, like I said before, animators are very similar to actors, and the director will have their own notes of like, hey, I want the character to do this, I want the character to do that. When you're doing this, make sure to keep that in mind. And like the character's motivation for the scene is when you take that and I start filming reference, I'm thinking about all these different things. Like, okay, well, I'm going to try a bunch of different things to see what feels cool and what feels fun. I'll film it and what doesn't feel right. And like, as I'm keeping all the director's notes in my head, and then I go back to my computer as I'm editing it, I'm finding the pieces that are the most interesting. And I try and put them all together and then film again. And once I find like find the most um, interesting piece of reference, I take that into the computer and I start using those ideas that I got from the reference, and then exaggerating them and making them feel like Miles instead of making them feel like me. The core of it is like you need to make sure that you're not just animating yourself, you're animating the character, because I move like Ere. Miles moves like Miles. Miles can do things like Ere, and Ere can do things like Miles, but I need to make sure that I am fully myself and Miles is fully himself. And I'm translating my ideas over into Miles.
Can you just talk about this one? What's happening in this scene?
Yeah. So here we go.
This is
This
really
was
good.
this was hands down the most difficult thing I've ever had to animate. It's because of the complexity of the choreography, and just like it was just not a. And then as the director is describing it to me, and they're like, yeah, so we want the horse to kind of flip backwards and starts galloping backwards, and the girl's flipping on her back, and I'm like sitting there like, mm-hmm, okay, 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 cool, you know. I started talking. I have some friends who ride horses, and I started talking to them, and I was like, hey, so how does a horse gallop backwards? And they're like, can't, it's impossible. And I'm like, cool, all right, cool. So I have to do something impossible, make it look okay, cool, cool, cool.
Mhm.
So I approach these shots the same way I approach every other shot. I get out the camera and start filming. Like, okay, let me just see if I can inspire myself somehow. And as I'm filming, not much of it is useful, because especially for the girls flipping on the back of the horse, I'm like, yeah, I can maybe use some ideas from this, but it's just not going to be very beneficial. But um, ended up watching hours and hours of footage of just like horse riding tutorials and like um, uh, horse tricks and all these different things. I was trying to find inspiration. Okay, how does a horse actually move, and how does a horse, react, and how will someone on the back of a horse react to them doing crazy stuff? And um, to be very honest, I just felt like I just and we had and just trying to get to the end of it as with as little bruises as possible, But I do remember very often, like when my supervisor assigned me this shot, I started animating it. I was just like, "Yeah, bro, no, I can't do it." I remember going to my supervisor, like, "Hey, so just so you, I can't do this." He's like, "No, no, no, you're fine. Just go. You're good." And I'm like, you know, truly, going back and forth with the directors and my supervisors and everything. Like I owe everything to friends giving me notes on on the physicality of everything. When I showed it to the director, he was like, wow, you actually did it. Okay, well, that's in my head. I'm thinking, wait, see, you would give me something that you didn't think was possible. Why would you ever, you know? So
Maybe this was your stretch assignment,
yes,
your
but I
stretch opportunity.
absolutely, and I think that this was another like reinforcer in my head of like, has it been done before? Then I can do it. If it's never been done before, which I've never seen something like that before,
Mhm.
it's going to be a little bit harder for me to do it. But again, we're reinforced that as long as I put in the time, as long as I put in the effort, I could do it.
Yeah.
And then after I finished the shot, it just kind of felt like everything opened up for me. I was like, wow, I can do anything. I feel so like powerful. I feel so much more confident. And so that was a huge help for that.
And this is from Spirit Untamed?
Yes. It's probably on Peacock because it's a DreamWorks movie.
So, a galloping scene when the horse is galloping backwards with the 3 girls, that's Aries scene.
Yeah. And it goes by boom like that.
How long what is the process for a scene like this that
Yeah.
goes by in a couple of seconds? What are the hours that you put in?
So I worked on that scene for about a month, which um in animation time is still pretty quick because we had to do it pretty quickly.
Mm,
But I wish I could have spent usually I would have spent like 3 months or something like this because like it's not a simple shot. You want to spend as much time as you can getting it to feel, right. As right as
right.
possible. Yeah.
This is so amazing. Thank you for sharing your process. Final $1,000,000 question, DC or Marvel?
Well, I am an employee of Sony Pictures Imageworks. I grew up watching a lot of the old like Spider-Man cartoon. Spider-Man was a huge part of my life growing up, and then as the 2000s rolled around, the X-Men series and like the MCU and this like Incredible Hulk, all these things.
Yeah.
I'm a Marvel boy at heart. I love Marvel and the whole thing. And then I remember watching Avengers Endgame, and if you've not seen it, spoiler alert, I remember, the scene where he's there and the whole battles and the portals open and the music is like doom, doom, doom. Then you feel everything's welling up, and then all the people come out, and then you see Cap go, zoom, pull the hammer, turns it and goes, Avengers, assemble. And then like it's like, yeah, everyone's excited. And the theater I was in, everyone's like, wow, yeah, whistling. And it was like the most exhilarating experience. And it kind of felt like my entire life and like my childhood and my teen years and my 20s, and everything's kind of came to a point. It was like, boom, here it is, the biggest moment. And oh man, it was such an amazing experience. And that was just such a powerful moment.